So this project came out of the event we had for Connected Communities this time last year up in Scotland. And what we've done is brought together 5 early career researchers to try and think about what the experience of the early career researcher has been like on the Connected Communities programme. So we're from different disciplinary backgrounds, we're from different sort of starting points. Some of us are postdocs, some of us are PhD students, some of us are community members, some of us have got permanent positions, some of us are quantitative researchers, some of us are more qualitative. And the 5 of us have tried to come together to capture a sense of both what Connected Communities is kind of doing for early career researchers, the identities it's producing. So is there a new kind of researcher emerging from the Connected Communities program? But also we're really interested in, I guess, the kind of the clash between different competing methodological approaches to what are very similar questions across projects like understanding everyday participation or cultural intermediation or ways of knowing, which are 3 of the projects that.
So you're trying to figure out whether all of this works?
Yes, although I guess with my kind of politics hat on, you know, does it work for who and in what circumstances, in a sense that some of the projects, it's clear, are kind of really brilliant at developing new approaches and new methodologies, but some of those new approaches and new methodologies are maybe difficult to get published in what are, you know, considered the kind of the mainstream peer-reviewed journals. And because things like early career academics' jobs depend on getting the right publications, then there's a question about how all this new knowledge translates into a job. Equally, at the same time, some of the, I guess, the kind of the more permanent members of the project team have got these questions about how do we change our practices to, you know, reflect the kind of lessons we've been learning about things like co-production and about participatory forms of academic research, and how we can kind of display that, how we can kind of make that visible in this world of, you know, funding bids and peer review articles and this sort of thing.
And so you've been doing this for a year?
No, only about 4 months or so. The process took a year because obviously we had various kind of conversations about would we like to bid for a pot of money, how would that bid kind of shape up. Then we were, you know, writing the bid, then waiting for the decision about whether we get the funding or not. So we started February, March of this year. We had a workshop at the beginning of May, which is where this poster came from, and this fantastic art done by Katie Hill, one of our project members, and these kind of core questions that we sort of discussed but also came up with in conversation with some of the participants of that workshop are the product of what we've done so far. We've also, as part of our funding, got a small pot of money to give out bursaries to 11 early career researchers who are our participants, who will be trying to record using various different methods their experiences over the course of the summer working on the various different projects that they're part of.
And I mean, from the outside, the research establishment has its single biggest issue is money, I guess. And so this research is important because it helps researchers become more efficient at getting at that funding?
Well, actually, I think the core of why we think this is important is because we really aim to report directly to both AHRC and RC UK about what one of their major projects is doing for the next generation of early career researchers. So partially, yeah, there's the kind of shared learning we have in terms of talking to each other about writing bids or writing journal articles, you know, this kind of thing. But really, this project is about capturing the experiences of, I guess, a new generation of researchers that have come through quite a radical program led by Arts and Humanities Research Council that may or may not get them jobs, may or may not be sustainable, may or may not change the kind of university institutions around things like REF and promotion panels and stuff like that, to mean that the lessons from Connected Communities will be embedded or not, as the case may be. And I think the more we find out the more useful it will be to be able to think about not so much connected communities, but when AHRC do these kind of projects, next time when there's another major program on offer, how can they kind of embed the learning from connected communities into that?
And how do people see the output from what you're doing at the moment?
So at the moment, because we're in the kind of the middle of the project, there aren't discrete outputs yet, but we've got 3 lines of thinking. The first is we're going to do a very traditional sort of policy report for AHRC RC UK, which will be one of those kind of classic, executive summary with the findings and then detailed contents. The second thing is, because connected communities has been about things like co-production and about not having a traditional researched relationship between participants and I'd guess kind of core academic staff. What we're doing is hosting a workshop at the end of September to try and bring together our 11 participants with our 5 project team members to think about what the best academic output would be, possibly an edited book, possibly an edited or special edition edited by us of a journal, possibly just a single academic paper, but with 16 authors, depending on how things develop. Then the final thing that we've been discussing, and again, this is something we're keen to co-produce, is doing something much more accessible. So at the moment we've got a blog. Our website is earlycareerresearchers@wordpress.com, and maybe turning that into something like a zine or perhaps something a bit more artistic that'll be, I guess, a lot more accessible than, a dry policy report. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but, having a range of different ways is really crucial to this.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.